Hey everybody, everybody. This is episode 2. I'm really excited. We're gonna be covering what I think is some interesting topics, mainly just rooted around competition, and obviously by the title, the rat race. I've always kind of found, in my life, at least moving from baseball to working life to relationships, friendships. Really kind of all aspects of life is oddly rooted in competition. Survival of the fittest, corny, but it's true. Um, in order for us to survive and ensure that our DNA moves on, in essence, we're competing. Just silly stuff. Like I'm saying the basics, but um, yeah, it goes back throughout human history. So it's inescapable, but I think that's kind of a weird way to think about it. Maybe not weird, but could definitely be self-destructive in ways. And ironically enough, I think even talking about competition, some of the things I'm going to talk about, like it can be a little harmful. But anyway, this is for just like really anybody that's dealing with, I guess, kind of feeling annoyed or um, yeah, annoyed, enraged, tired. Tired's a big one. Just of putting up with, like, when you have a conversation with somebody and it's just like always just one up. It's like you can't just ever just like say something good or bad and have that just be what it is. Like, this is usually how you can tell if you're dealing with somebody that's constantly competing. Consider not having around if it's affecting you that much, right? The whole point of this is to help us be in it because there's no escaping, I guess, the rat race unless you like you want to be a nomad or something like extreme like that, or really escape from the typical 9 to 5. The biggest things that I like to think about is competition is this is how I look at it to, I guess, kind of accept it for what it could be, or also just rework it in my mind so I don't get as defensive about it. Um, I believe that competition is deeply, deeply rooted in insecurity. People like to dress it up as superiority, or that, yeah, just essentially superiority, or that they are doing something um, that is to be admired. Um, I think that's deeply rooted in the need for approval. Um, Whether they are aware to it or not. If I feel like I'm always competing with somebody else, I subconsciously believe that everyone needs to see that I am successful, that I am the best, that I am this, that I'm that. There are people out there, the narcissists you'll run into, um, that are constantly one-upping and lacking recognition for someone else's success because for them they can't accept that someone else, there's no space in that mindset. I believe that there's no space for anyone else's success. So, which is really odd because just because someone else is successful doesn't just negate the fact that you could also be successful. It's a really weird way of thinking, I believe. The need to feel like they're always winning. They cannot be a loser. Because any failure or setback, anybody that's ahead of them, maybe it's like sales, maybe someone has more sales than them. Maybe in my case, like when I was a baseball player, um, someone needs to be the number one starter. Like that was a big thing in my head. Like I need to every season need to make sure that I'm the starting shortstop because if I'm not, then I'm losing. Then I'm doing myself a disservice. Then I'm not living up to what I want for myself. Um, which isn't always necessarily a bad thing if you should want to do the best for yourself, but it shouldn't come at the expense of how you view other people because someone else might have gotten the position over me. If I'm competing that deeply with that person, I won't be able to have a good, healthy relationship with that person, in my opinion. I think I'll always be looking for a way to undercut them. If they don't have a good game, I'm excited. Is that a good teammate? Absolutely not. Like, it makes sense but to be the best teammate or to be a good teammate or to be a good, genuine person, I think that it's important to not obviously prey on someone's downfall. Like, I should be happy for your success. Just because you're successful does not mean that I cannot have success myself. My time will come if I just stay here, locked into my own mind, on what it is I need to do. Because obviously, if I'm not in the position I want to be, I'm not doing what I need to do. So if I'm just focusing on everything that this person's doing, what am I doing for myself to make sure that when I get my opportunity, that I'm going to be ready for it? Like, it's just not going to happen. A takeaway from that is just, if you feel the need to compete with yourself. Compete with the version of you that was yesterday, that was the year before. I'm going to continue to use baseball examples because that was just such a big part of my life. Compete with the person I was the season before. Compete with the numbers that I had the season before. The defensive numbers. If I felt like I was doing good the year before defensively, do better next year, you know? That's a way to remove myself from looking down but preying on a downfall of somebody else. How can I stay locked in within myself, service myself, but then also be the best version of myself for everybody else that's around me? Where I am right now, I'm a wildland firefighter. And when I get there, the whole point of me being a wildland firefighter is to give my service. I want to make sure that no one's going to be damaged from fires. I want to make sure the land is damaged as minimally as possible. Wildlife is damaged as minimally as possible. Just minimize all of the damage that fires will do. At least one person on that crew that is trying to do the best that they can to show that they're the best. And if I am competing with that person, I'm no longer seeing them as a teammate. I'm seeing them as an adversary. We're all here to give service. So if I'm competing with this person that thinks that, let's say it's like, I need to make sure that I can clear the most land for this day to make sure that our fire line is going to be developed as fast as possible. So maybe that person is looking at everybody else on the crew like, well, I cleared freaking 50 trees today. What did you do? You cleared 10? Like, you know what I mean? So it's there. In a lot of situations, there's going to be people that are finding the competition within everything to service some kind of need. So I guess when I say compete with yourself, bring it back to that point, if I, like, it's kind of a contradiction, because I said earlier, if you need to feel that, if you're not at the place where you can kind of accept that this is going to all be around you, and that you still want to push yourself really hard, it can get harmful competing with yourself, because you can then beat yourself up really easily. So back in baseball, if I am competing with myself to the point of I didn't meet the numbers from last year, didn't match them or did worse, I might, and I know that I actually had in the past, just absolutely destroyed myself and felt like I was essentially just a loser, and that can get really, really harmful. So be careful. Like, I guess my point being, is be careful with the degree to which you compete with yourself. It would be better just to accept things fully as they are, and to know that you're just serving a purpose. Pursuit of that purpose should be the only goal, and it shouldn't be rooted in a competition. It should just be rooted in, I just want to do the best that I can, because that's what I want for myself, and that's going to reflect really good on the people around me, especially in team environments. I think that would also apply in a lot of other areas where it's not necessarily a team environment, whether it's like finance or something like that, or sales. In sales, you sell a lot. Well, that's not really going to help the other salesperson. It's going to help the company. This is what I think is a really, really good point that ties that all together. You can be in the rat race and not adhere to the guidelines. So the guidelines that are set up for us, there are guidelines, which is survival. So survival, making sure that you're the best, making sure that you're the shiniest of the peacocks or whatever, so you can get your mate, or just something silly like that, right? Like, oh fuck, that's so fucking stupid. I'm a peacock, you gotta let me fly. Are gonna be people that are following these guidelines because they haven't yet accepted that there's enough space for all of us to be successful. There's also enough space for all of us to be shitty too. So, but yeah, that's the big thing. They have not reached that level of consciousness where it no longer, the outside stimulus no longer affects me, because if I'm constantly worried about somebody else's performance or where they're at, like I said earlier, what am I doing for myself? That is not helping at all. That's only just dragging you further and further back away from where you want to be. And then it's also destroying your freaking minds, your mental state. You're just gonna be running yourself in circles like, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not this, I'm not that. And that's one of the most difficult things to deal with, is feeling like you're not good enough. And I think that competing with other people, and then to an extent, if you take it really bad with competing with yourself, it can also get into this, but also just feeling that you're not good enough. You are good enough. You're worthy just because you're alive. How you can tell if somebody is actually in competition with you, they're asking you a lot of loaded questions, and they're wrapping it up in this like really cute bow and ribbon, like, oh, like just kind of prying for information. They want to know where you're at. This would be probably not in necessarily a team environment. This could be in sales, corporate world, running a business, something like that. Well, what are your numbers? Something like that. How much did you sell last quarter or whatever? I am not savvy with this kind of time, with these words clearly, but you get the point. There will be a lot of people that just want to pry you for information, and now that you know that there's tons and tons of people that are competing, you're not going to view these questions as an intrusion, as some kind of slight against you. You can just look at them and be like, oh, you're insecure. Wouldn't want to be in that situation. Like, you can honestly have fun with it. Like, you can hear these kind of loaded questions and just be like, oh, well, I'm not there. That's fine. You can think that way, and maybe even actually tell them what you're doing. That's no longer going to affect you, because you're not competing with them at all. You're just trying to be the best for yourself and at large. And that's, I think, the most important thing to do. A lot of people that are in this deep competition with the world, other people, themselves, there's a lot of ego behind that. Ego is good in certain situations. Not walking around daily life. If you think you always got to protect yourself, or you always got to let it be known, let your value be known, watch how that deters people from you, or attracts people that are like you, and then further create just a terrible cycle of just like, not feeling good, not feeling worthy, not feeling like you're doing enough. Contentment is not a curse. It's not gonna, if you're content, it's not gonna mean that you're lazy, or that that means that you're because I'm okay with what I'm doing, that I'm not gonna continue to do good in the future, or I'm gonna feel content, and now that I feel content, well, I'm gonna lose my edge. I don't think that's the case. I think that it can actually motivate you even more. I think that feeling just okay, feeling just okay in general, is, is good. And that's where you want to be. It's so silly. If you feel good, isn't that going to reflect on the type of work you do? Wouldn't that make your work even better? Wouldn't that make your sales go even higher if you feel good about yourself walking to fucking work every day? As me as if I'm feeling good at work, am I going to be able to be a good teammate? Yes. Am I going to be able to be the best version of myself for everybody else? Yeah, because I feel okay. If I feel not good, that's usually when I am in a cycle of hearing things the wrong way and not doing the best work that I could do. I could still work really hard, but man, I just believe that if you feel good, it's gonna reflect in a positive way. You can look at these people, and even when you can start picking up on these little tidbits that oh, this person is competing and has a deep need for competition. You can acknowledge that and just know that I don't have to prove myself to anybody. Um, within reason, there you're gonna have to meet a certain standard as far as work is concerned. So you're gonna have to prove yourself, but you're not gonna have to feel the need to display this kind of um, facade. You don't feel like you need to go up to somebody and tell, hey, do you see all the good work I just did? You're just gonna do it and just know that that work was good. And that's gonna be enough, because in yourself you feel good, you feel complete, you feel content, you feel complete. Take this with a grain of salt, similar to how if you are still in the headspace of needing to compete with yourself, that can also be very destructive. Having to flipping your mind, I guess this would be an early stage switch. When I talk about having to compete with yourself, that's an early stage, trying to get us out of competing with other people. Essentially, you don't want to have to compete with yourself at all. You just want to be accepted, right? Okay. Same thing with proving yourself to other people. To get yourself out of that, you can just start proving yourself to yourself. Then that isn't the most optimum healthy way, but at least it's not then external. You know what I mean? You're at least focusing more on yourself, which is what you should be doing, because best version of myself, best version for you. Proving yourself is to yourself is good. Good is a better place to be. But the same thing with competing with yourself. Eventually, you'd want to get to a point where you're just accepting of yourself. Still want to meet all the standards. You still want to do good. You still want to be the best version of yourself, but you're no longer clenching. Your asshole is no longer like you're just you feel free of the rat race. You feel free of the guidelines. You feel free of the burden of just constantly trying to get ahead. You're just in the moment. You're here. You're now. That's where you want to be. So you'll see me kind of look back, and I have some notes just so you can kind of stay on track. It's not working that well. It's clearly going like this and that, whatever. But adhering to the codes others live by. I have to directly quote this. Adhering to the codes others live by, you'll lose sight of yourself, your peace, what you want, your abilities, your faults. It's then about satisfying a negative ego cycle. I can then extend that same thing to when competing with yourself is no longer serving yourself, when proving yourself to yourself is no longer servicing you, you're still feeling like I said, that you are tense, you're not actually content, you're not really that happy, you're just, something good happens and you can't feel good about it. You just be like, okay, what's next? That's a cycle that is, yeah, disrupting, like I said, disrupting your peace. Adhering to the guidelines of the rat race. Within the rat race, obviously have goals, but set your goals so that they line up with your values. And let those values guide you on how you want your success to look and how you want it to feel. Very important, I think. When I had this realization, it felt really cool. If you follow the guidelines of the rat race, success will never be fully appreciated by yourself or by you. You will get to where you want to be, and you'll just realize you're more alone than you ever were. You'll achieve what you want, but it'll never be good enough. You'll never be enough to somebody who isn't enough for themselves. They're not content. So if you're competing with all these people to satiate them, to make them recognize how great you are, those people don't even see how great they are. So you're damn sure not going to be great in their eyes. You're just going to be, oh, well, this person's doing good. They've got a big head. I don't like them. I want to actually see them fail. Actually, I want my success to overshadow theirs. They're never going to see that for just being something that's good, something that's having a positive ripple on the company, on other people. It's just not going to be enough. They're never going to see it as what it is. But you can always be enough for yourself. A lot of thoughts going up and down, but to kind of wrap that into a nice bow, I talked about it a little bit earlier. The way I kind of did it in a really weird way of kind of talking about how you should never be competing with anybody else. If you do feel the need for competition, compete with yourself. That is the step, that's at least a better step out of that kind of just destructive mindset. However, when you're competing, feeling like you have to prove yourself to yourself all the time, that is just as destructive. It's at least better because you're not looking at everybody else and seeing them as a threat. It gets you away from getting caught up in all the things that don't matter. You should be the only thing that matters. And then once you satiate that you matter, then it's going to reflect very, very positively upon everybody else. It sounds like it's going to be a really big ego thing. It's not. I really, really do believe that when you fully believe that you matter and that you're good enough, it's not a cocky thing. It's a silent confidence, and you should always have that. We want to get to a place where we accept everything that's around us. We accept the people that are competing with everybody else. We see it, we understand it, and we accept it. We don't try and change it. We just see it and we understand it. We accept that other people's success is not a hindrance to ours. So we accept that there's space for everything. We accept that there will always, to some degree, when in any kind of facet of life, there will be people that need to compete. But with acceptance, it gives us the freedom to no longer be caught up in the rat race of it. We are just concerned with, how am I servicing myself? And then how is that reflecting positively upon other people? Positively. We're not doing it to one-up anybody. We're not doing it to peacock and show that we're the best. We're just doing it because that is not necessarily the right thing to do, but it is what needs to be done. We are in our jobs to fill a role, and that's the purpose of it. So as a firefighter, I have a role to service communities, to service people. So if that's my goal, I should just be trying to fulfill that goal and not, I need to cut the most trees today. That's not the point. Accept everything for what it is, and strive for contentment. We have solved our insecurity. We're no longer insecure. We no longer have something to prove for anybody else. We don't have to even prove it for ourselves, because we accept ourselves for who we are. That is the key to freedom.